Hey guys, this is V. Rigoni, Max, high performance real estate entrepreneur. So today, what we're going to be talking about is really, should you start a business or should you buy one? Now, we've talked a little bit in the past about it, but there's some serious reasons why one might be an advantage over the other. And so let's kind of get into it. But before we do that, let's subscribe to the channel. If you like the content, hit the like button. Neither one of these things cost any money. And hey, leave some questions. We're happy to answer any questions. We're happy to sit there and respond to any comments. So put them in there. Let's see what's going on. And if you need some help, throw that in there too. So the whole concept of who I am, okay, and what I represent is entrepreneurship, whether it be in buying real estate. Because remember what I talk about all the time, real estate is just a vehicle. Yes, it's a vehicle to gain riches, and wealth. Okay. And it's probably the most popular way to do it. You hear numbers like 90% of all people that become wealthy in this country, real estate has a significant amount to do with it. And then, by the way, when they do become wealthy, then they put a lot of their money into real estate. Why? Because it holds a certain level of stability, a certain, a lack of volatility. Yes, I know we went through 2008, the financial crisis, but real estate was really victimized by the financial crisis. It was victimized through this mortgage problem that they had. And so we want to get past that. So what are we talking about? We're talking about choose your vehicle. If your vehicle is going to be real estate, that's fine. But then understand where the cycle of the market is. Right now, real estate may not be the most optimum time in which to invest in real estate. Again, there's always those chances you can get a big discount on a property. Nobody's saying that. But this idea that people are telling you, go out there, buy, and put that 8% mortgage on it, and then hope that the interest rates come down sooner than later, and then you can refinance. And then you'll get that property before properties escalate if they drop interest rates. Now, a lot of assumptions there. If you unpack some of that, well, number one, if you're buying a house right now, a property, chances are it's still at close to an all-time high, or it is an all-time high. All right? Then you're putting on debt that is 8% interest. Now you're hoping that that cash flow is enough to give you some room in order to make it profitable. Well, let me tell you, from a standpoint of an entrepreneur, that cash flow has gotten really skinny. Talking about the positive cash flow, right? Because now you're paying almost twice the mortgage payment that you would have been paying just 2 years ago. And so that changes the whole dynamic around it as an investment, around it as an entrepreneurial endeavor. So be careful. Now, I made a lot of money in real estate in the 90s when interest rates were right at these numbers, but you have to be careful. There is no easy transaction right now. Unless someone dies and is willing to give you the property, their heirs are willing to give you the property for 40% off. Not talking about that crap. I'm talking about the go out there, find a property that's worth investing in. Very difficult. Now, that doesn't mean that the gurus out there in real estate are not telling you buy, because some of these guys are all about, get rich quick. And we'll talk about that soon. But we want to make sure that when we're making these investments, whether they be in real estate, whether that's your choice of business. Now, that's one choice, right? Let's just put that to the side now. But when we're talking about should you buy a business or should you buy or should you buy a business or should you start a business, then there's some real interesting, some really, different viewpoints around this. And I'm in the camp of you buy the business. And you might say, well, I don't have the money. Well, that's just one challenge. There's lots of challenges when you're in business. As an entrepreneur, you've got to embrace the challenges. You've got to embrace the difficulties. Shit happens. So you weren't born rich. So you don't have a whole lot of money right now, but you want to get into business. Now, again, what is your path to doing this? Well, most people will say, start a business in something that you already know. Well, that's good and bad. I mean, if your avocation If what you like to do is cameras, well, good luck with that. Most camera shops are closed. Technology can kind of move past that which you like to do. If like you want to be in the if your hobbies and you always wanted to open up a hobby shop, well, good luck with that too. I don't know. Doesn't sound very profitable. Maybe it is. I'm sure there's some good ones, Hobby Lobby, but that's what you got to understand is what is your market. So when you're looking to get into business, when you're looking to either start a business or buy a business, number one, that is the same for both. You better understand what are the profit margins in the business. What is the market for the business you want to go into? If it is a very limited market, if it has a very poor profit margin, well, maybe you want to pass. I don't give a shit how much you like it. Maybe you just want to pass on it. Why? Because business isn't about what you like. Business is about what you can what you can do, what you can affect, what you can create profit in, right? Because you have to pay the bills first before the profit. So it's all of these things put together, all right? And so even if your avocation, there is great, you've got a great avocation, but it doesn't make a good business, then forget it. Life's not about always your avocation. And if your vocation that you're doing right now, like if you work for a printer, do you really think the printing business is coming back? Do you think that's possible? So be careful. So then, therefore, you might say, yeah, but if I start a business, even if it's in something that I like or don't like, but something that, I can determine is going to be profitable, something that there is a market for, And when I say about market for, all right, if you've ever watched Shark Tank, once in a while they'll have somebody on there that has come up with a great solution for something or a great new idea, more so than a great solution, a great new idea. And then they'll sit there and say, yeah, but here's the problem. In order to get people to buy this product, they have to be educated on a whole new concept. And rarely do these guys ever bite on that kind of a offer. They don't make offers on those kind of businesses because they don't want to sit there and have to change the way people think in order to buy their product, okay, or their service. Now, if it is a solution to an existing problem, different story. If it's something out there that enhances a situation or a product, different story. There's a whole market out called the aftermarket, right? Whether it's in auto, whether it's in cameras and lenses, and there's all this aftermarket out there. But you're not trying to create a new market. So be careful about going into a business where you have this great idea, but you have to re-educate the entire public in order to understand what it is you're trying to do. All right? It's a quick way to failure. That's just the way life works. All right. So again, should you start a business? In other words, should it be a startup? Should you go into it? Now, most people who do startups, let's kind of look at that. They're going to go into a business. They're going to start it up, right? They're going to say, hey, they're going to scratch some money together. And they're going to say, I want to do a startup because I can't. In most cases, is because either they can't perceive, they don't think big enough to buy a business, or they just think in too much fear and too much fear and not the ability to be able to create the dollars necessary to go buy an existing business. So they think, so I can bootstrap it into a business. I could keep working. I could take the money out of my income. I can start doing it. And then eventually it'll grow into something bigger and I can quit my job. Well, what's interesting is that's how we talk about getting into real estate. But there's reasons why real estate works that way so well. And starting a small business, well, that's why there's such high failure rate. I mean, real estate makes you money when you're sleeping. People to pay the rents. Appreciation takes place while you're sleeping. When you're not working on your job, if you open up a mechanical shop, okay, an auto mechanic shop, and you're the guy there working, if you're not there working, when you first open it, is any money being made? No. That's why, some rules apply to some things and they don't apply to other. And in this case, if you're starting up your own business, you've got to do all kinds of things to do that, right? You've got to buy tools, equipment. You've got to rent a space. You've got to make these commitments. In most cases, you're either going to be taking your hard-earned savings or you're going to be borrowing money to do it, all right? And then you're going to be going in and opening up a shop or opening up this or whatever it is. All right? And then you're going to go out there and you're going to try and make something happen. Now, I can tell you in most cases, service businesses have probably a much higher rate of success than like a retail in many cases. And so there are some businesses that, that maybe if you bootstrap it, you can get it going. But here's the bottom line. I don't know about you, but I've known many people in my life that started a small business. In fact, I just was talking to an auto mechanic, one-man shop. He's been doing it for 20 years. He's still the guy cranking the wrenches. So but think about it. If that's what you want, if all you want to do is replace your job with a self-employment job, well, that should be easy enough to do. Just make sure, again, that it's in something then at that point, then yes, you do know how to do, that you do have a great understanding about, and because you're going to be the person doing it. So you better really understand how to do it because that's your job. I mean, if you go to an auto dealership and you say, I want to be a mechanic, and they say, so what's your experience? You say none. It's not going to work out too well. So if you want to open up an auto mechanic shop and you go there and you have no experience, it's not going to work too well. If you want to be a one-man shop or a two-man shop. And I say man, whether, female or male, whatever. And so that's where your problem lies. The question you have to say to yourself, are you going into business? Are you going to start this business so you can just replace your job, or do you want to create something? Do you want to create a much larger business? Do you want to scale this business? And you might say, well, I don't want to think about that right now. You better, because otherwise you will always be the person cranking the wrenches. You'll always be the carpenter swinging the hammer. Now, if you say to me, well, that's all I want out of life, well, God bless you. Go for it. Easy peasy. It's not too difficult. But because that's not really a business. It's a job. A business is something that can be run by managers, people you hire that has a profit margin beyond the fixed expenses, material cost expenses, labor expenses, and then there's a profit margin. There is a return every month because you're in business. I don't know, maybe your profit margin is 25%. A lot of businesses, if you take profit margins, they can go from 3-4% from a grocery store, all because they work off a huge volume, okay, to 25-30% typically. Now, again, the more people you hire, the more people the more layers of management you put between you and your company, then typically the net profit will go down. But the gross profit margin should always be there. And so you have to understand some things around business. Otherwise, what are you going to accomplish? You're going to go back to what I said. You're going to go back to where you just want to have a job. But even if you just want to have a job in business, you still got to understand some basic principles about running a successful business, even if it is a job, even if it's self-employment. Now, people will argue with me and they'll say, because even in my conversation, I'll say a business and I'll say self-employment. Yes, it is a micro type business. It's self-employment. You are in business, but you're not running a self-sustaining, marketable where you can sell that business later on at any significant dollar amount. Because once you leave, the business is done. A true business will work without you. A true business, yes, you'll have your input, but that could be by phone, that could be by email, whatever. You don't have to be there being the one doing the work. And I really want you to the reason I'm spending so much time on this is I want you to understand it could still be something that the public really needs, something you like to do, but then you have to make a decision. Am I doing this to create a job, or am I doing this to create a company, a business? So let's just assume, for sake of argument here, and my conversation, is that you're doing this to create a business. Well, now let's look at that. So you're going to be doing this for 10, 20, 30 years, let's say. How much money do you think you're going to spend on marketing, on advertising, on trying to grow your business? How many events are you going to go to? How many trade shows are you going to go to? All this stuff in order to create your brand name. Do you think it's going to be a little bit of time? No, it's hours and hours. It's weeks of hours. It's years of hours involved in trying to create that brand. You understand? The billboards that you see are out there to create a brand. The ads that pop up in many cases are there not just to sell you a product, but to help create a brand. Then there is the product advertising costs that you're going to have to start to spend. Or the service costs of what your service is. All these things. Now think about it. When you start on day one, $1, none of that's there. You got to create it all. You got to get out there and do it. And you have to then crank the wrenches, spray the gardens, whatever it is, do the landscaping, whatever your business is, on top of all those other things. Now, all the things I'm telling you is reasons why people will then choose to do what? Oh, and let's just go back one more time. What is the chance of success when you start a business? The failure rate is off the charts. The failure rate, I mean, your success is ends up being 15% over the course of 5 years. That of all the people that start, only 15 to 20% of the people will actually be still in business. That doesn't mean they're going to be highly successful. They're still going to have their doors open after 5 years. What percentage of those people are highly successful? Well, probably 20% of those people. So that's how small the chances are of you starting a business on your own and then growing it into something that's successful over 5 years and then becoming mega big over 5 to 10 years. All right? I don't like those odds. Never liked those odds. Now, I did start a business. I know. Just doing what I told you I didn't do. But it was a service business. It was a financial practice. We already knew people. We already had clients. It was just a matter of getting it going. But was there difficult times? Absolutely. Was there this side of starvation? Well, nobody went hungry. But hey, we were eating at Subway on a regular basis. I mean, that's just life. And so, but what I would recommend to do it all over again. All right, because it's that whole thing about wisdom. It comes from memory. So when I express these things to you and I tell you, even though we started this way, I would say to you not to. It's because of the memory around the difficulties of doing it. Plus, I was in an industry that has a very high success rate as long as you just go do the work. Okay, so there were some factors. Now, what is the other thing to do? Well, go buy a business in what you like. So I don't know what that is. If it's in sofa, you want to make sofas, you want to have a business that does aftermarket custom design on cars, whatever, that's fine. Go find one to buy. And you're going to say to me, but I'm 28 years old. I got 5,000, 10,000. I have no money. How can I do that? Well, number one, I'd say, well, you're probably one of those people that are going to say, it's going to be very difficult for you to start a business anyways. But how about just getting some expertise knowledge around mergers and acquisitions? Oh my God, did I just say that? M&A? Does that sound scary? Most people don't even know what the hell it means. It means buying businesses. Now, when they refer to M&A, they're usually talking about big businesses being bought by other big businesses. Well, and then they'll use these investment bankers in order to accomplish that. And they'll bring in money from venture capitalists in order to accomplish this stuff. Well, you're not going to be able to hire an investment banker to go out there and represent and find you a business. And you're not going to be able to get venture capital from a venture capital firm. No, you're going to have to bootstrap that.